Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Leigh Fuge, and in this video today we're going to be checking out the Mako D1 Delay from Walrus Audio. The D1 Delay is the first pedal from the Mako series. This is a studio grade high fidelity multifunction delay pedal. It's got 5 different voices and a bunch of other cool features under the hood. It's powered by the Shark DSP chip, and it is a super powerful, super tweakable delay unit. It's one of those delay pedals that you can pretty much get away with having just one of because it does so many different things. On board you've got 9 accessible user presets just from the pedal itself, but if you need more than that, you can use these full-size MIDI jacks to connect it to your favorite MIDI controller or recall switch and expand this up to 128 presets. We've got 5 different delay types on board. So you've got a digital delay, which is your classic, super clean, super pristine repeat. You've got a modulated delay, which adds a little bit of shimmer and chorus to the end of the tail. You've got a vintage delay, which is sort of more of your analog style delay pedal. You've got a dual delay, which is really cool because when you're running this in stereo, you get 2 different subdivisions, left and right. And you've also got a reverse delay as well, which is really cool for those sort of backwards, really sort of trippy delay sounds. So on the top panel of the pedal, we've got 6 knobs, 3 little toggle switches and 2 foot switches. So the foot switches, we've got a bypass switch, which turns the unit on and off, and we've got a tap tempo switch, which obviously allows you to tap your tempo. When you press both of these together, you bank through the presets. Along the top here where the knobs are, we've got the time knob. This is your overall tempo of the delay. You've got your repeats, which is obviously the number or the length of the repeats, otherwise known as feedback on certain delay pedals. You've got a mix control here, which is sort of like your wet-dry thing. When it's all the way down, you get just the dry signal, and when it's all the way up, you get the entirely wet signal. Down here in the bottom corner, we've got a pretty cool thing, which is called the tweak knob. This is really cool because this is one of the unique features of this pedal. This one knob controls 3 separate parameters. So underneath here, we've got a 3-position toggle switch. In the left position, you've got mod, in the middle, you've got tone, and then you've got age. So these 3 parameters are all controllable by this one switch. So the way this works is if you wanted to add more modulation, you set that in the mod position, dial in what you want, move that to tone, dial that to the tone you want, and then age, dial it in as well. The only downside is you can't see what you've previously set the previous setting to. You just have to go by sound, but once you've called the preset up and you like the sound of it, you can save it and you're away. The middle knob controls one of the 5 delay algorithms, and the final knob, this is really cool, this is the attack feature. So when this is all the way down, you just get the delay at the same sort of velocity as what you play. So it comes out exactly the same way it goes in. As you dial this up, what it actually does is it softens the initial impact of the delay repeat. So you get these sort of pad or swell type effects. So this is really cool when you want to get into more ambient sort of textures. If you don't want a straight up delay, the attack feature is great. And as far as I know, Walrus are the only guys doing this in a pedal that doesn't require an expression pedal to do that. The middle toggle switch is your banks for your presets. So there's A, B, and C in the 3 positions. Each bank has 3 separate presets. So you can tell which preset you're on based on the tap tempo LED flashing. It goes from red to green to blue. Each of the banks has 3 presets stored in each one. So if I've got bank A selected, 1, 2, 3, bank B, 1, 2, 3, and bank C also has 3 presets. And the final toggle switch over here is your subdivisions. So you've got quarter notes, eighth notes, and dotted eighths. So there's plenty of different things to be tweaking there with your sound. Now the other cool thing about this pedal is it's got stereo in and stereo out. So one thing you can do is run this into a 2 amp rig, which is what I'm going to be doing in this video. I'm going to be running this in full stereo, but with a mono in. So when you set this pedal up out of the box, it's defaulted to true bypass mode, which means it's stereo in, stereo out. So if you want both of the stereo outputs to work, you have to have a cable in each of the inputs. What you can do is when you're starting the pedal up, you can hold down the 2 switches and you can switch between different bypass modes. So you've got true bypass, which is what it is out of the box. You've got one called true bypass plus DSP, and you've also got a third one, which is called DSP bypass. I've got this set to DSP bypass because it allows for mono in, stereo out. It's the only mode that allows for that. If you have it on true bypass, you have to have stereo going in to get stereo out. Pedal also runs off 300 milliamps off a standard 9-volt adapter, so it's quite power hungry, so make sure you've got enough juice to power this as well. I'm running this off the Walrus Audio Phoenix clean power supply because that's got some 300 milliamp outputs, so make sure when you do power it, whatever power supply you plug it into can give it the 300 milliamps, otherwise it won't function properly. Okay, so there's a ton of features we've covered there very quickly, so now we're gonna have to plug this in and hear what it sounds like. For the video, I'm using my Vola Oz ROA guitar, and I'm plugged into two separate amplifiers. So on the right side, you're hearing the Cool Amplification Blue Sky, which is mic'd with an Aston Origin condenser mic. This is running completely clean, completely dry. On the left side, you're hearing the Blackstar Studio 10 6L6, which is mic'd with a Lewitt Audio LCT 440 condenser mic, and that one has just a little bit of reverb. So I've got the pedal running in full stereo. Where you'll notice the biggest difference is when we go to the dual mode, which will give you different subdivisions in both the left and right speakers. For the most part, you won't hear too much of a difference between the left and right, other than perhaps some delay modulation as you move along. But the real difference will come when we hit that dual mode. So as we go through each of the 5 algorithms, we're going to break them into 2 separate parts. So in the first part, we're going to look at the top line. So that's the time, the repeats, and the mix. Then we're going to break it up into the tweak and the attack functions, and we're going to look at exactly what they do for each of the algorithms. So here is the digital mode, just the top row of knobs. So it's a very, very typical digital delay. Lots of pristine repeats. The time knob is actually really, really varied. So this is the knob that controls how long or how short the delay repeats are. In the minimum position, it goes down to around about 60 milliseconds, which is pretty quick, right up to a maximum of about 2000 milliseconds. So you can really get a lot of difference between the delays. There's a huge range of possibilities there, so I'm just going to set the delay straight back up, and now we're going to look at the tweak control and the attack control. So for the tweak control, on the mod mode, the knob needs to be all the way down, so it's on the minimum. In the tone mode, it actually needs to be all the way up, and in the age, it also needs to be all the way down. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at what each of these functions do. So in this algorithm, which is the delay algorithm, the mod will add a modulated tail on your delays. It will modulate the actual delay tail. The tone acts as a low pass filter. So this will, as we dial this up, it will take the high end off the repeats. And the age on all of the algorithms acts as like an overdrive distortion sort of thing on the tail. But in digital mode, it acts as a bit crusher, so it's really cool for getting in some glitchy sort of effects. So I'm going to play a little bit now and manipulate these 3 parameters as well as the attack. So obviously, like I said, with the attack, as I dial that up, it softens the impact of the delay hits. So it's very, very typical there of a digital delay. Very clean, very pristine repeats until we start playing with that bit crusher where we get into some more glitchy territories. Now we're going to look at the mod. So this algorithm is a delay with a modulated tail. Now obviously we can control the amount of modulation anyway, but this works with a series of LFOs in the tail of the delay, which makes it a little bit unpredictable and a little bit sort of weird and wonderful. So it's a pretty fun algorithm. So now we're going to take a look at the tweak function. So on the mod algorithm, the mod function here under the tweak control controls the amount of pitch modulation on the delay repeats. The tone acts as a low pass envelope filter to the repeats, and the age now acts as a gentle warm overdrive. So as those repeats go on, they get sort of a little bit saturated and a little bit more analog sounding. All right, so the next algorithm is the vintage algorithm. This is my favorite one out of the 5. This is sort of more like your typical analog / tape echo, especially when you start playing with those modulation and distortion settings. This is almost the perfect vintage style delay. The only thing it doesn't do is it doesn't do that really cool self-oscillating thing. Because of the amount of time and the amount of repeats we can dial into this thing, we can almost get to that point, but not quite. I think that's probably the one thing that I personally think is missing from this delay, is that ability to self-oscillate. Even if it was something cool like, you know, hold the tap tempo switch to bring that in, that literally is the one thing that I could possibly dislike about this delay pedal. Everything else is awesome. So once again, we'll take a look at the vintage delay, we'll play around with the main core delay sounds, and then we'll have a look at the additional features. So we almost get to self-oscillation there. Now let's take a look at the tweak controls. So in the vintage algorithm, the mod obviously adds asymmetric modulation to the delay tails. This is that same sort of chorusy, phasey sort of effect we've had on the previous ones. In this case, the tone control actually needs to be set at midnight because this acts as both a low and a high pass filter. So with the tone control at midnight, we're in the neutral position where there's no filtering taking place. If I go all the way down to 0, so up to noon, it operates as a low pass filter, and from noon to maximum, it operates as a high pass filter. And the age in this case just again adds a little bit of overdrive, a little bit of sort of distortion to those delay tails. Right, so next up we've got the dual mode. So this is the algorithm where you are going to hear a difference now between the left and the right speakers. So what we're going to get now is we're going to get 3 different subdivisions in different speakers based on the position of this subdivision switch here. So in all of the standard delay algorithms, the subdivision switch just works quarters, eighths, and dotted eighths. But in this dual mode, it has another function. So when the switch is in quarter note mode in the dual delay algorithm, you get a quarter note on one side and a quarter note triplet on the other side. When I'm in the middle position, which is the eighth note position, I get an eighth note one side and a quarter note triplet on the other side. And when I'm in the dotted eighth mode, I get a quarter note one side and a dotted eighth on the other. So here's where we get all those really cool ping pong and moving delay sounds. So in that algorithm, you really can hear the difference between the left and right speakers, especially if you listen to this demo with headphones on, you should hear that distinctive movement between the sides. Now we're going to take a look at the tweak and the attack controls for the dual mode. The mod side affects the pitch modulation of the repeats as it always does. The tone is the same thing, it's a low pass filter on the repeats, and the age is once again a little bit of overdrive and saturation on those repeats. The final algorithm we're going to look at now is the reverse algorithm. So this is a really cool one for just getting into some weird sounds. What this does is it takes the input signal, flips it around and plays it backwards. So we'll do what we've done all the way through this demo. We'll start by looking at the core sounds and then we'll dive into the tweak features. So as you can hear, it gets a little bit weird when we start playing with reverse delay. Now let's look at the tweak settings. So the mod will add pitch modulation to the repeats when it gets turned up, as if that reversed sound needs to get any stranger. The tone acts as another low pass filter, so obviously we sweep that from high to low, we take the top end out, and the edge now adds a little bit of overdrive and distortion again. So there's all kinds of weird and wonderful things to be done there with the reverse mode. Now I'm just going to quickly jump back into digital mode so we can talk quickly about the subdivisions. So let me just quickly reset the tweak parameters here because you don't want anything changing the sound too drastically. So I'm just going to play a little bit now and I'm going to move the subdivision switch from quarter notes to eighth notes to dotted eighths just so you can hear the range in subdivisions. So there you go guys, there is a run through of the Walrus Audio Mako D1 Delay. As I said at the start of the video, this is a studio grade multi-function delay. They actually refer to it on the top panel as a high fidelity echo machine. So it's pretty cool. You get all these pristine studio grade delay sounds, but you can also get into some weird and wonderful stuff with reverse delays, with vintage delays, and some glitchy bit crusher stuff as well. It's a super, super versatile pedal. It's the sort of thing that if you're looking for one great delay pedal that does everything, this is a fantastic option. It's not the cheapest delay pedal by any stretch, but it is super versatile. And to be honest, you probably won't need to buy another delay after buying one of these. The ability to have 9 onboard presets as well as 128 presets via MIDI is really cool, because even if you just need a few core delay sounds, you can have them all through this unit. Now you can see on the top panel, my sort of function LED it's actually flashing purple, but I think on the camera it's probably showing up as white because of the frame rate. But if I press both of these foot switches together, it's going to change color. So we've got red, blue, or green, sorry, and then blue. So again, those colors aren't quite showing up on the camera just because of the frame rate and the way the LED is flashing, but you've got 3 different presets for each of the banks, red, green, and blue. So you've got, yeah, a great amount of presets to play with there. If you choose to expand that with a MIDI controller, you pretty hard pressed to fill 128 presets with different delay sounds for a gig, but you never know. I think this thing is great. I'm not really that much of a delay player myself. It's not an effect that I always lean on, but when I want a delay, I want it to do something very specific, which is that kind of warm analog delay. So for me, the vintage algorithm on this is fantastic, but I love the fact that I can get some real super ambient stuff out of it as well. It's not the sort of sound I'd use all the time, but this is one of the reasons why I don't own any ambient delay pedals until this one, because I didn't want to give up any real estate on my pedal board for a pedal that I may use once. So the fact that I can have all my core delay tones like I would use like a vintage slapback and maybe something with a little bit of a longer repeat for lead parts, I can have both of those tones in this as well as a bunch of other stuff. So this is the perfect delay pedal if you don't want to give up a lot of space for different delays or like a big sort of multi-function delay pedal that you may see in other brands. So yeah, personally, I love it. I think it sounds great, but what do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comments what you think of the Walrus Audio Mako D1. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know down below in the comments what you thought of the Mako D1 Delay. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Thanks so much for watching.